Welcome to the Odyssey of a Former Fat Kid. I'm your host and former fat kid, Brian Grizz Butler. Today, I have a special privilege of speaking with an old classmate of mine, Hector, and we're going to dig into his health story. There's some similarities that we share and some overlap, and so yeah, I look forward to this break away from talking to the experts in their field and talking to somebody
Right.
who's had a dramatic life change within the last few years. So, Hector, welcome, man.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm excited to be here.
Cool, man. So, yeah, I guess let's dive right into it. How has your
Sure.
life changed over the last two
Uh,
years?
it's been an incredible, not only the journey, but the after, the post, and I'm still in it, so it's not really post. I'm still living it. I'm going to be living it my whole life, but
Yeah.
um, it's life changing for sure. Livelihood, all the way up to down to marriage and friendships and work, um, work cadence and all that. I think it's just life has just turned around, and it's not so much because I can do more things, but it's more because of that motivation that came from losing the weight and moving forward, that kind of I was able to implement in other parts of my life as well, and you see things get better,
Yeah.
right? In all aspects of life. So it's and like you, now I can also say that diary of a formerly fat kid, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. I still consider myself, stocky. I'm still got a journey, but I've lost a whole. No, I told my wife I lost a whole nother big person, right?
Exactly.
Because based on my height and average, you know unrealistically, I would be about 100, 160 pounds, right? But my goal was 180 pounds to
Okay.
get to that, and coming. I'm not there yet. I'm in my early 200s,
Hmm.
but I was at almost 500 pounds. I was 594 pounds. I'm 494 pounds
Man.
when
Okay.
I first started the journey. So it's big, big, big change.
Wow. Wow. Okay. How tall are you?
I am 5'9",
5'9".
so you can yeah. And so if I was born thin, if I was well, everybody's born thin, but if I grew up thin, right? My doctor says I would average somewhere between 155, 160 pounds, but he's like, realistically, getting you down to 180 pounds is something we can probably try to get to. Not to mention, additional skin, all that kind of stuff that eventually might have to come off. That's an additional 30, 40 pounds that I still might have on me, right?
Gotcha.
Um, but I'm 5'9", so I'm not that tall, but I'm also not incredibly short. So I'm lucky. I'm kind of
Yep.
mid-size height.
Got the average height. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Wow.
right.
Okay. So 495 pounds. My goodness. Okay. Yeah. So, and
Yeah,
that's
it's fake.
yeah for contrast. Yeah. So I was, although I don't know if there are any pictures of me at 400
I've seen a few
pounds.
that you've posted. I
Yeah.
mean,
Those
prior to
were probably a little less. Because I know when I like before the surgery I had on my foot, the doctor was like, "You need to shave some weight," and I was like, "Okay, okay." And I think I was
right.
375 when they weighed me then, but I'd already started to come down some. And so yeah, at that biggest point. But for contrast, yeah, I used to be 6'2". Now I'm like 6.5, which is painful.
And that's something.
Man, I was like, I thought that didn't happen until I was at least like 50, 60. It's crazy.
Right. No,
Um,
it starts. I think it starts early on in your 30s and 40s, and it seems that you just get shorter and shorter, and your kids just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yep. Yeah. At the doctor, they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You sure? Stretch a little bit." You see?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay. So, I mean, um, childhood. Like, take us back there because obviously there's a journey to 495. I mean, what was that
Sure.
like? Yeah.
Sure. So I would say I come from a family where mostly big folks, right?
Hmm.
If not tall and stocky.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of a lot of good food,
Of
a lot
course.
of a lot of finish your plate kind of thing, right? And you've heard of how that plays into that
That
psyche, right?
generation. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. There's other people who are starving. You finish your food
Hmm.
instead of how about just give me a little bit less on the plate? It would probably help a little better. But that's just a joke around. But no, yeah, I grew up. I would say about average weight. I really didn't start really picking on weight maybe when I was maybe like 9. I started getting a little heavy set,
Mm.
and I've had you know uh, personal issues, family issues, things like that. had a tough childhood, and I think some people, they focus on certain addictions like alcohol or drugs. Mine was food.
Mm.
To be completely frank,
Yeah.
I just ate myself to that weight. I kind of maintained when I was in high school, I think, and then grammar school, about an average weight, but I was still big, obviously, for my age and my height. I think in the later years, I started getting a lot bigger. I think once I hit my 30s,
Mm.
I started working in IT. I was sitting down a lot. I had things that, mental things that I never really addressed. I didn't seek help. So it was really easy for me to just kind of, you know, eat those things away, right? Like try to deep them beer and, bury them down inside. But the problem with that is that you don't just bury those things. You layer them with stuff, right? You put things on top of it, like a pile of dirty clothes. And for me was just, eating late. I think that was one of my biggest things. I would eat really late at night. I play
Mm.
games 10, 11, 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. Right. And I used
Oh
to play
yeah.
these mental gymnastics with myself too. Like, well, I'm not eating any breakfast. I didn't eat any breakfast yet because I'm full from eating late at night. Right. Um, but yeah, it was, it got to a point where, and I'll be brutally honest, I got sick,
Mm.
2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. So we saw that recent picture that I posted. That
Yeah.
was almost 2 years ago, during my son's Chicago performance at his school, his freshman year. And a month after that, my close cousin, uh, best friend, passed away
Mm.
from heart failure. Rest in peace. And then a month right after that, in January, I woke up with my face half paralyzed.
Wow.
And my wife woke up, and she looked at me and she's like, "You look strange." And she made me try to smile and move my face, and this part of my face was asleep.
Mm.
And so she panicked at first, right? And she's like, "You might be having a stroke." And there's some dark humor in there, right? Because right before we went to the hospital, I was like, "We're probably going to be there all day. We should probably go get something to eat." So, so we drove to the nearest White Castle,
Oh
worst place,
man.
and we ate some food. Showed up, they started doing blood tests on me, and they're like, "Did you just eat like something high sugar?" I'm like, "Well, we just ate some White Castle just in case we're going to be here all day." She's like, "They're like, your sugar is like over 400. Your
Wow.
blood pressure is over 400." She's like, we can't let you leave until we control you, or you're gonna
Wow.
just have to stay there, as long as you have to. So they had put a couple of IVs on me. I went through like 2 3 bags. I was there for several hours until they finally were able to kind of get me down. But they took me in right away because they thought I was having a stroke. Um, but it was actually Bell's palsy.
Mm.
A few days before, I was eating some sweets. It was just after the holidays. My family, they came over. They brought a lot of food. My sister made homemade candy. Right, they left it there. So me, of course, I saw it. I was like, I'm gonna eat this candy until there's no candy left. So I was eating that candy, no big deal. It's like Mexican. You know how we like to season everything, right? So it's like it's super seasoned, sugary, salty, spicy
Mm-hmm.
candy, and I'm just eating it little by little. And the next day, I wake up with like my face is a little numb, a little sore. And I'm thinking it's just from the sourness, the puckering, because that's happened before, right? To
Mm.
me, and but it just wouldn't go away. And then I think maybe a few days later on a Saturday is when I woke up with the Bell's palsy, and totally freaked my wife out. Ended up in the hospital, and um, it was a scary thing. And people ask me, what was that? What made you, was that the bottom, rock bottom for you? And
Mm.
that wasn't rock bottom. The rock bottom for me was seeing the fear in my wife's face.
Mm.
Watching her just have this, like this just fear of like, is he gonna die? Is that alone that was the catalyst for everything for me. Is the reaction of my family, how they were, what I was putting them through, right? Worrying about me. My son wouldn't tell me to my face, but he would tell my wife, you know, is that okay? Isn't he too well? He seems sick. And I was starting to like swell up at this
Mm.
point. I was starting to get edema in my ankles. They're starting to swell up and get reddish. And, I was starting to get all those symptoms that you see kind of like in those TV shows where people start getting,
Yep.
areas where they start swelling up and the incident starts building up. So I was starting to get those symptoms. I wasn't fully there, but I was feeling it as well. But that was the turnaround for me. That was just like, I gotta be here for my kid. You know, I owe him that much. My wife, I owe him that much. As a father, as a husband, I can't leave them like this, right? That's not the legacy I want to leave behind. That's not the memory I want them to have of me.
Mm.
To say my dad, he gave up, right? And I've taught my son not to give up, to get back up, dust himself off, move forward. I mean, you're gonna fail all the time, and that's how you learn how to win, right? And I'm not giving him that example. So on one end, I'm telling him how to live his life, how to be stronger, but at the same time, I'm not showing him that.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a lot. There was a lot of self awareness, a lot of acceptance that I had to go through, a lot of, this is it. And a lot of people say it's really hard, and it is, but I think anyone can do it. All right, anyone can do it. I never thought I was going to lose this much weight. All right, and I always felt, and I've done diets before and I failed, and gave up. That's the only difference. So I've done keto before and I've lost 60 up to 80 pounds and then gained it all back and doubled it. Right.
Mm.
And so, but there was something about this time that I just knew there was no room for failure. There was no room for giving up, or there was room for failure, but there was no room for like, I'm gonna go back to my old ways. And that's how I did it. And there's more to it, and we can deep dive more into that. But the motivation was my family, my wife and son, and my siblings as well. My mom was worried about me, and my sisters as well were worried about me, and
Yeah.
friends that I've known for a long time. They're like, "This is the biggest I've ever seen you.
Yeah.
Get your stuff together." And
Mm.
eventually, I did. I took charge of my life and took charge of it, and just went with it.
Wow. Okay. Um, for the like friends and family, were people like bold enough to tell you, or were they kind of
Oh,
passing it through? You know.
some people won't. The people that don't want to hurt your feelings won't say anything.
Yeah.
My closest friends that I grew up with as a child, they'll tell me.
Got it.
My best friend Jose, he's like, I know what you're doing, man. You're not doing so well, and we don't want to see you pass away. We want to have you here for a long time. You need to get it together.
Mm.
And I took that advice to heart. Um, Wanting to actually start the journey, I think, was the hardest part.
Yeah.
One of the hardest parts to actually get started, right? Once you're in it, you're in it. But getting started and getting building that motivation to do it is hard.
Yeah.
And I was hearing it from family members. We hear from family members all the time. It's mostly when your closest friends that they're willing to break or lose that friendship just to tell you something
Mm.
that you need to hear. That those are the true friends. Those are the people that really love you.
Yeah. Okay. So being willing to say, hey, like this is a hard truth. You might cut me off because you don't want to hear this right now, but like I wouldn't
Exactly.
be a friend of you if I didn't say this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was very few of those that I had, right? And those are my true friends. They're like family to me.
Yeah, man. That's a really tough part. Like with in our society, like it seems like it's shifting again, but for so long it's like it's just really taboo to say anything,
Right.
and so yeah, you just kind of watch family members and then they're aware of it usually, but there's a lot of stuff that just goes unsaid, friends or family,
Right.
and you just don't say anything at all. And then like an emergency happens or something like that, and you're like, okay, and then all of a sudden stuff starts coming out, and you're like, what? Why didn't you say something beforehand, or where were you,
Right.
or yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's a really tough journey. In that, and not being able to, I guess, have those conversations, even like, okay, so this is actually something that's interesting. In some cases doctors will say something, and in other cases the doctors are hesitant to say something because of
Mm.
today's climate. um did you have, I guess, one, did you go to the doctor with any regularity? Because I know for a lot of us we can like, maybe I
No.
might go once a year, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Um, the last time I had gone to the doctor before I had the Bell's palsy was probably about a year,
Okay.
and that was because I was started getting really bad headaches, and I was having the swelling in my feet.
Okay.
Um, but it was during COVID. It was like it was a virtual call, right? So I
Oh,
was a little
okay.
relieved there, right? Because I was like, I'm not gonna have to go in, but through the camera, you could, he's like, let me see your feet, let me see this
Yeah.
and that. And they're like, yeah, you got to come in so we can run some blood tests. I didn't go in. But I did go
Okay.
somewhere to weigh myself, and I was shy of 6 pounds to being 500 pounds to half a ton.
Gotcha.
Um, so And but I didn't have a doctor. I didn't have once I got I had a kind of a choice from a few doctors when once I went to the hospital and was diagnosed with Bell's palsy and diabetes and high blood pressure and kidney disease and heart disease. A lot of things. I had a lot of things,
Yeah,
and
man.
we can get into that. But I chose a doctor who worked in family medicine, but he also worked with obesity, and himself used to be obese himself
Mm.
at one point. It just kind of the stars aligned, and had a conversation with him. Really young father of three, doctor, great guy. I say we're probably around the same age, maybe younger than me. He was very motivating. He gave me a lot of advice. He's like, whatever was working for you, I want you to do it. He didn't try to steer me away from like, oh, don't do keto, oh, don't fast, don't do this, because in the past I've seen doctors, not frequently, but I've seen doctors are like, oh, don't do that low keto thing. It's quackery, right? Or more old school, old generation doctors that thought Dr. Atkins was a nutcase, and then everybody ended up copying his formula and calling it ketogenic, right? And turning it into businesses, right? If you haven't read his book, yeah, I recommend it. But he's somebody that I did follow for a while and until sadly he passed away. But this doctor is very forward, also very open. He
Mm.
studies a lot in medicine. So every medicine he gives me, he's like, I'm gonna try to give you the best medicine for this, for that. It'll help you,
Mm.
for this and for that. But very supportive. I told him I started keto, which because it was easier for me to do. It was the first thing that I understood because I had already read into it. I already kind of had an idea what foods I could and couldn't eat.
Mm.
And then maybe 6 months into that, I started doing intermittent fasting and then OMAD, 1 meal a day. Um, and he was all game for it. He's like, you've lost, he's pretty, every time I would show up, I had dropped 30, 40 pounds.
Mm.
Right. So he's like, how are you doing? He's like, I'm just sticking to it. He's like, I'm doing keto. I'm doing, I just doing the keto and the fasting was keeping me low calorie anyway.
Yeah.
So I was giving it was like a three-punch combo. It was the fasting, it was ketogenic, and then the low calorie was just default, right? And then with some exercise and some walking and some breathing and drinking a lot of water,
Mm.
the weight just started coming off.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, it's significant. Like it's over 250 pounds I've lost
Yeah.
in 18 months, 20 months,
Yep. Okay.
which is, and you see those shows in Dr. Now when someone will, they're like, you can lose 100 pounds in 3 months. He's right. You can,
Yeah.
but you have to be committed. You have to just say no, right, to certain things. You just have to buckle down, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. But my doctor's great, but I would avoid them for the same reasons I knew they were going to tell me. They're like, you're sick, you're obese, super obese. Now that they call that,
Yeah.
in other countries, they just call it diabetes, super
Right.
obese or
Right.
obesity. But I was afraid of the hard truth, right? But the sickness forced me
Yeah.
to, face it head on.
Okay. You mentioned something really important there too, because like some people will hear it and be like, "Oh my goodness, he's doing keto. I heard that you shouldn't do this," or if somebody does intermittent fasting, whatever. Like all of these various diets, some people are like, "Just don't do dieting." If you do like learn how to work with all the foods, and you can be okay, but just listen to your body cues, moderation, things like that. But whatever you're gonna do, it is very wise to do it in concert with regular visits to your doctor.
Correct.
Absolutely. Because, like, I know somebody else who started doing carnivore recently to potentially address some autoimmune issues and drop some weight as well. But she's doing it with her doctor, and the doctor is keeping track of labs and things like that. And so you get an early warning, or early verification to say, okay, this is working. It's having this positive effect on these aspects of your panel. I see the weight coming off. How are you feeling, etc. And so
Right.
that's a really key component for
It is. It's
anybody.
very important.
Yeah.
Very important. I was visiting my doctor every 2 to 3 months while I was on these diets. He was giving medication, and I was taking a lot of medication. I was
Mm.
taking 35 milligrams or I might be wrong on the doses, but I was taking a large amount of insulin, comboed with metformin, which is also for diabetes. I was taking a drug for high blood pressure. I was taking a drug for heart disease. I was taking a drug for kidney disease. I spend a lot of my time also trying to regulate my diet and trying not to be sick and dizzy from the medications.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once I regulated my blood sugar, I started coming off those medications because I didn't need them anymore. They started making me actually sick. The insulin was making me spotty, seeing spots because I didn't need it anymore. So got off of
Mm-hmm.
that. Then I reduced my metformin in half, and then I don't take metformin anymore. He reduced a few other drugs. Right now, I'm only taking the most important one, which is for the liver, and it's not liver disease from alcoholism or anything like that. It's from
Fatty liver
the
disease from the
yes, from
yep.
the diabetes attacking the liver
Yep.
and messing with the protein. And I was leaking protein, but they were still functioning right. So that's why he's like, well, my my numbers are decreasing, things are getting better, but I want to keep you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was visiting the doctor every 2 to 3 months, 2 to 3 months. Now it's more every 4 to 5 months. So I'm going to see him in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I haven't seen him since I think it's early in the late spring, early summer.
Yeah.
Because now I'm more regulated. We still talk over Messenger on, during the hospital application.
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep in touch. So lately I've been experiencing more dizziness on certain drugs. And he's like, I'm going to take you off of this, stay on this.
Mm.
And next time I see him, I think I'm down to maybe just one pill compared to 6 that I was
That's
taking at one point.
awesome. Okay.
Right. I also take supplements as well to
Yeah,
help
for
me with
sure.
certain things because it helps. Obviously, especially since you lose a lot of weight, you lose a lot of muscle. You got to try to gain that muscle back, but you need a little bit of help with with some of the amino acid stuff that disappears in your body and vitamins that you need to kind of maintain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's good. Like you made a good point. It's good to see your doctor consistently. Like going one time and then saying I'm going to get on a diet, you're gonna set yourself up for failure. I'm sorry to say that, but you're gonna set yourself up for saying, "Well, doctor, I haven't seen him in 3 months, so maybe I'll set up an appointment for 6 months from now and see how much I can get back in line." Um, for me, it was keeping myself honest. I wanted to
Yeah.
keep seeing the doctor. Plus, I was posting on social media because I wanted to keep myself accountable.
Yeah,
Not
man.
because I wanted to say, "Hey, look at me, I lost all this weight." I was very hesitant to do that at first.
Yeah.
But I'm like, first of all, there might be somebody out there who thinks I'm really big. I can't do this. I
Yeah.
don't know how anyone can do it. That's one. I'm like, you can do it. The second, this is how sick I was, and I'm no longer this sick because I was able to reverse that. Reversing diabetes is a big thing.
Yep.
Anyone can do it. Um, Not everyone, but a lot of people can do it.
A lot
Right?
of
People
people.
who get
Yeah.
diabetes from the weight, and some people are, they don't have the option of that, so that's unfortunate. But they can regulate it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, people who get diabetes from, eating and and being overweight, that's very reversible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I wanted to put also in the third is to keep myself accountable. I'm like, the best way for me to keep myself accountable is to put it out there and say, this is how much weight I've lost, how I'm losing. And if I gain it back, that's on me. Right. And now everyone can see it. And it's not that I need that, but I think it helps.
Yeah.
It helps to say, I got a goal. I said I was going to lose this much weight. I'm going to try my best and just keep moving forward. And, you don't do it alone. I did it with my family, and that helped a lot.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit more about that? Obviously, for anybody who's been following the journey, they've seen some of that, but some may not. So, what was the journey with your family like?
So, so um, I like to cook a lot. I'm a person who cooks a lot. I cook dinners for us. My wife cooks too, but I just love cooking. So before I would cook a lot of more fatty foods, a lot more unhealthy food, or not even so healthy, but just a lot of food, like a lot of portions, right? You can eat fatty food if you're just smart about it. Um,
Right. I love
but
peanut butter.
there you go. I love delicious fatty ribeye steaks. You know, So especially the cap where it's the tastiest and it's the fattiest. But I'm not gonna eat 2, 3 of them, right? Um,
Right.
I might have at one time. But so I would cook dinner a lot, and I in my mind I knew my weight, my family was gaining weight because of the food I was feeding them as well. Just like my mother when she fed me, I gained a lot of weight too, and I don't blame her for that. She just wanted me to be happy, and she made the food that she did, and I ate a lot of it. My wife had gained, good 60, 70 pounds since we had been together. And I know she's not embarrassed for me to say that. That's what I'm saying. And if you're listening to this, don't get mad, but she said it was okay. And my son, he was getting a little chubby as well. And I felt bad because that's how I started, right? So I told him, when I start this, I'm going to continue to cook, but I'm going to cook healthier foods. I'm going to be, I'm going to use keto ingredients, substitutions. And I'm like, if you guys are willing to join with me, let's do it. And they're like, yeah, we like your food anyway. I'm sure you'll make it taste good. And
That's
they
cool.
eat, they eat what I eat. If I will go to the gym sometimes. They go with me. We do a lot of things together. My son got really lean. Yeah, he rides his bike every day already, so he already works out a lot.
Hmm.
He started doing weightlifting weights here at home. He eats the same food we do. He is slimmed down. He was at freshman year, he was like a size 35, 36. He's down to a 31.
Oh, pant size
Um,
35, 36, a
Pant
freshman.
size,
Wow.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. You good?
Yeah, so we're starting to fill in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my wife, she went down several sizes. She lost so far about 50, 60 pounds. And she hasn't been this small since we got together. So she lost a lot of that weight. Now it's all the after work.
Hmm.
And so they lost that weight with me, but that wasn't only it. That kind of kickstarted motivation in my other family members.
Okay.
My two sisters, my sister that is above me, and then my baby sister. I
Hmm.
still call her my baby sister, but she's not a baby, but my baby sister. And then my sister's son as well. They started getting onto a health journey, and they did their own kind of journeys. My one of my sisters, she did all exercise and low calorie. My other sister did a lot of exercise, low calorie, and my nephew, I think he did similar things that they knew they could stick to, right?
Hmm.
And they've all lost an amazing amount of weight. My baby sister, she's lost so much weight now that she had to actually get surgery to have skin removal.
Oh, okay. She did that
Um,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
my nephew, he's like a size small, and he's we're talking he's like six something, tall boy, well, young man, and he lost all the weight off. And my other sister, she had to be more careful because she couldn't do certain things because she had, a thyroid cancer at one point, and she had to have that removed. And so she was limited to what medication she can take, certain things. So she went hardcore exercise, low calorie. She's the one who I think did the hardest thing because she couldn't
Mm.
eat fats and cheeses and all the kinds of things that if you're on a keto diet you can enjoy. So hers was harder, and she still did it, right? And I think, and my sisters, they tell me like, you kicked it off. We all got healthy because you kicked it off, and I was like, I didn't think it that way until now. I see us, all of us. I think altogether we've lost about 600 pounds altogether. All of us who lost weight,
Mm.
and yeah, it's an amazing journey. I'm very lucky because I know some people, they try to get on diets and their family is not done with it, or they live with a lot of people, and some people will join, some people won't. They're eating this kind of food around you, and it's a lot easier to fall off the wagon when someone's having a slice of pizza and just sitting there having a salad, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a slice of pizza. The problem is that when you're addicted to food, like I am, you're not just gonna eat one slice of pizza. You might have two, three, four, five, six pieces of pizza
Uh
until
huh.
you're full, or you think you're full.
Pass full.
Um, Past full, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the way we got for that same reason.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely lucky that my family hopped on the wagon with me, and they've been with me, and we've had our ups and downs. I mean, it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
There's times that, we have a large family. We have weddings, birthdays, holidays, and you know you have to say, okay, for at least for myself, I'm like, okay, it's a wedding today. I'm gonna do an OMAD today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna eat until dinner time at the wedding. I'm like, and I'll keep that 23, 24-hour fast until I eat. I'll still kind of in my head count, okay, this is millicalories, and there's millicalories in this, there's many carbs in this.
Mm-hmm.
Try to stay within a certain amount, and things work out for me,
Yeah.
right? Um, so it's just a matter of you know keep just keeping it moving forward. But yeah, family is a big important. I know some people don't have that, but there's a lot of things you can try to do. Try to there's a lot of motivational videos online. A lot of luckily we have the internet now, right? We can you know try to keep yourself focused and busy by going online and looking at other people's journeys and just staying motivated. You know, family counts, but if your family's not with you on that end and they can't join you for whatever reason, maybe it's a health reason, it might not even be a reason that because they can or they don't want to. Um, you know, there's ways. You know, anyone can do it. I mean, a lot of people ask me like, you know, how'd you do it? And I tell them keto, fasting, and they're like, oh, man, sounds hard. And I'm like, it is hard at first. It's, like I said, it's the starting that's hard.
Right.
Once you're in it, you know, and you gradually start losing weight. You know, one week I wouldn't lose anything. Another week I'd lose 2 pounds. Another week I'd lose 5 pounds. Another week
Mm-hmm.
I would lose, yeah, I would gain two,
Mm-hmm.
3 pounds, right? Maybe I went to a wedding, had a piece of cake, that insulin built up, gained 4 pounds, right? And it's not, there's no way and there's no way possible that you can gain 4 pounds in 2 days by eating a piece of cake. It's just not humanly possible. It is, you know, the water and insulin builds up in your body. So you got to learn how to understand those things that, you know, weight's kind of like climate, goes up and down, goes up and down, goes up and
Mm-hmm.
down, but it'll slowly keep moving down if you keep at it. If you see that spike, you're like, well, this ain't going to work, and you give up. That's where we end up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my mentality before. Like, I'm like, oh, I gained another 10 pounds, I gained them back. I'm like, I'm gonna just stop now.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, okay, I gained 3 pounds. It's probably from the insulin or that, you know, that piece of cake I shouldn't have had, or I did want to indulge in. And I'm like back on the wagon Monday, you know, fasting, exercising, drink a lot of water, stay motivated, you know, do what you do. And within a week that's gone, you
Yeah.
know, and it becomes a lifestyle.
Yep. Yeah, really some really important pieces in there too. And as a disclaimer, and I'll have it at the bottom too, we're not giving medical advice. We're not medical
Of course not.
professionals. We're
Of
not giving
course not.
medical advice. Um,
Exactly.
However, we'll also encourage people. It is good. One of the things that I ran from for years. So, like, I had the initial weight loss at the end of high school and early 20s, and I got down into the 200s from 400, and then I floated around 250, you know, plus or minus 10 pounds for years. Um, and funny enough, like, I had family support at the start, but then once I got like around 275, you know, there was some like resistance, which was
Yeah.
interesting, you know, whether it was a um like an old girlfriend who was like, you know, you shouldn't lose more weight because you're gonna look too skinny. I'm like, I'm 275. How am I gonna look skinny? What are you, you know?
Right.
Or smaller family members who were like, why are you eating another salad? You know, it's like, well, because my body doesn't respond the way yours does, you know. And so
Right.
like, I'm trying to knock this stuff off. And funny enough, there was even there was resistance from my parents, you know, as well when I was trying to get down to a certain size. They were like, "Well, you're mostly muscle." I was like, "No, I'm not mostly muscle." I was like, "I know what that looks like at my height and at my size,
Right.
and that's not me." I was like, "I know what I look like without all the clothes on. You know, I know how my body functions." So I was like,
Right.
"I'm not there yet." But it was interesting, yeah, just the different seasons of like partial family support, um, like not aggressive resistance, but a don't do it. You're going to be too small. You know, sometimes I think it was even like some projection of like you're doing something that they know
It's
they
not
should do for
healthy or
themselves.
something.
Well, that they know they should do for
Oh,
themselves,
okay. I see what you mean.
but
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. They're
accomplishing it. You know, and so it's not a misery loves company, but it's like, do you really need to do that? You
right. They
know,
might not even mean it.
right?
It's almost like they're trying to kind of make themselves feel a little better, and maybe it's almost like a comforting mechanism. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? It's not because they're trying to be
yeah. It's not from
mean or
malice.
right. It's not for malice.
No,
It's
no, no.
something that it's a we all have that, you know,
Yep.
and we express it in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like during the pandemic is when I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna like count calories. I got a little crazy. I did.
It gets crazy.
My wife was very gracious because I was a bit of a tyrant at times. But I learned a lot because I also weighed myself almost every day, and I learned what you were just talking about, how the body just fluctuates naturally, and you learn your body's natural cycles of You know,
Right.
because yeah, you can gain 5 pounds, and you're like, how in the world did I just gain 5 pounds of fat? Like, no,
It's
that's
not
water weight.
possible.
Like it's
Hmm.
all water
Hmm.
weight, bro.
Right.
And
It's
have
not.
you?
It's just not humanly possible.
No, it's like that's not how your body works. It's like it's water weight, and have you gone to the bathroom? Like those, are, and
Right.
then
Right.
right, for guys anyway. For guys, women
Hmm.
is different because the body fluctuates during as the cycle moves through and stuff like that too. So you have
Sure.
all these elements that if we're not aware of them, how our body is designed to function, they'll freak you out and throw you off.
Right.
When you're
Right.
on this journey. Um, and so
For
yeah,
sure.
it's really important to understand yourself. If you're not the type of person who's like can handle weighing yourself regularly, um, don't do it. But it is good to have some metrics that you track. Um, and for you, I mean, you were with the doctor too, so you had other metrics that you could look at in addition
Right.
to weight loss. Some people just look at weight loss as the only metric that matters,
No.
and it's beneficial. But if that's your only metric, you will do stuff that actually causes you more long term damage.
Right.
Because you
No,
mentioned
that's
something
true.
really important about like the muscle loss that you experienced.
Hmm.
And so how has that been going for you? Obviously, with the drastic cuts and everything, and even probably some of your other family members, the muscle loss that was part of the weight loss.
Right.
But now you all are working to like gain that back. What's that journey
For
been
sure.
like?
So funny enough, it was something I never thought about at
Yeah,
first, right? And
most
there's a
never
lot of things
do.
that no, most never do, and there are things that
Mm-mm.
don't come into your mind. My goal was to just lose weight, and my other big goal is actually to bring my numbers down for my my sugar and everything else, the lipid stuff and everything that the blood work came back with. I was on it, and every time I would go to the doctor, I'm like, let's do the blood work, let's do the blood work. How am I doing? So those were the two things that I was motivated on. But after a while, um, my doctor's like, you've lost a lot of weight. Your muscle mass is decreased. He's like, you need to start doing some uh, more workouts, not so much, running or cardio, because it's not necessarily going to bring muscle, but
Right.
you got to do a bit more weight training. And
Mm-hmm.
then he recommended some protein. And I started doing some research on how much protein I should have in a day based on my weight. It can get pretty difficult at times when you're not having a high protein day, right? You're having, some fish, maybe it's something that's not high in protein, and so I'll have a protein shake and a couple of beef sticks, and do a little weight training, and hope for the best. But yeah, I started noticing a lot in my body. My shoulders right away sunk, right?
Mm.
So I still got a lot around here in my face, but like my neck, obviously I have one now, but I started losing, I started losing a lot of muscle here and here, and on my legs. I started noticing on my thighs.
Mm.
I've always had a muscle in my calves because I carried a lot of weight, and I think for a lot of big people, when they lose the weight, that's the first thing they notice. I'm like, wow, like my calves are really muscular, and it's because it's been hiding there for you carrying 400 or 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Um, but my arms and like my shoe size shrunk.
Yeah.
So I was wearing like a size 13. I think I just tried on a size 11. So I'm a bit irregular like on my clothing because of the muscle and then the skin. So
Yeah.
my pants were down to like a 38, but my shirt's like a 2X still.
Mm.
So I'm kind of like still trying to balance it and then
Yeah.
trying to gain more muscle so I can obviously be healthier, but also fill in more, right? I want to fill in up here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing that I noticed was the protein and the muscle loss. Once the weight was significant, once the weight was like, okay, like I can see all the skin, but I also can only see muscles in certain parts of my body,
Mm.
and so I had to shift my way again. You have to reprogram yourself all the time.
Yep.
I was doing a lot of heavy keto at first and a lot of intermittent fasting, and then I shift to more calorie conscious type diet, right? Because I've introduced more carbs into my diet, but not an excessive amount. I'm still very carb conscious,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't exceed a certain amount. I try not to exceed 80 grams in a day versus where I was just staying under like 20 or 30.
Yeah.
But the muscle thing, it became a new factor, and it was that difficult at first, right? Because like
Yeah.
they're telling you like you gotta have at least 150, right, based on your average
Oh,
weight
grams of
should
protein.
be
Absolutely. Yeah. 150
150
to
grams.
200.
I'm like, I'm eating a big piece of ribeye steak and it's only like 40 grams. I'm like, how am I supposed to have 150, especially if I'm fasting, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes
You
a
can't eat all of it
difficulty.
in 8 hours. Yeah.
No, you can't, not at all. So I started, taking supplements, taking a little bit of creatine as well. And again, not medical advice. This is just, you know,
Talk with
things
your
that I've
doctor, do
taken.
your own research,
Talk
but
to my doctor. My doctor's
yeah,
like, don't take any more than this amount.
yeah.
If you're not working out, try not to take any, all these kinds of things, right? So he had gave me good advice. So I take protein shake. I have, I take psyllium husk for gut health. So those things help me as well, because like if you eat a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, sometimes you can get sick as well because you can't digest it fast enough, right? So you have to try to regulate that. So it becomes you gotta teach yourself a lot. You got to
Mm-hmm.
reprogram yourself every I think they're in phases. I see it more like milestones, like kind of like when you're doing a project at work, right? Got a
Mm-hmm.
year-long milestone. I got 4 phases. I got to get through this phase first. I got to get through the second phase, and they're and in reality they're goals, right? But within those goals there are going to be a lots of changes, a lots of things you're going to have to accept, right? Like, okay, I can't strictly stay low carb. I got to introduce more carbohydrates, but I can still stay low calorie, but I need to introduce more protein. I got to do it a smart way, try to stay within my fasting. I don't always do OMAD. I do intermittent on weekends. Maybe one week during the week. I mean, 4 or 5 days out the week, I'm doing one meal a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do it because I'm so, and it's easier for me because I'm focused at work, right? I work from home, and the one is I go into the office. But my work, it takes a lot of focus and brain power to stay on it, to do all this work that I do, and
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm very, very not distracted, but I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for me to say I'm going to drink water and electrolytes right now, maybe have a cup of coffee. If I get hungry early, I'll start cooking dinner around 3 or 4 o'clock. When everyone gets home, about 5 o'clock, we'll eat together. That'll be my last meal until the next day at the same time,
Gotcha.
right? But those 8 hours were filled in with something. It's really hard when you're just sitting around doing nothing. It's really hard to do something like that because you're thinking about it, right, all day, and it's not in my mind because I'm doing something else, right?
Yep. Okay. Have you noticed a improvement in your cognitive function, focus, etc.?
Oh yeah,
As yeah.
yeah. I used to get terrible headaches, especially after eating carb heavy meals.
Mm.
I would my sinuses were act up a lot, congestion, a lot of foggy. I couldn't sleep, right? I had sleep apnea as well. So
Mm.
I think I'd get 5, 6 hours in. I'd lucky if I got 2 hours in. My wife would tell me I would wake up all in the middle of the night all the time. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
you're technically just kind of micro napping at that time, and you think you're asleep, but you're not.
Yep.
Um, I've gotten way more sleep out of my nights for sure. You got also got to train yourself to try to go to bed earlier, get a rest, because that's very important, right? And I've always been a person who stays up to 3, 4 in the morning, slept 3, 4 hours, and go to work like that, right?
Yeah.
That catches up to you. It'll kill you.
Yep.
I guess no medical advice here, but scientifically, that kind of stuff will take you out,
Yep.
right? So it's good to get good sleep. But I was having a hard time sleeping because of the breathing,
Mm-hmm.
of the sleep apnea. Now it's a 180. Now my wife says that she tries to check on me because she doesn't know if I'm breathing because I don't make any noise. She's like, you don't snore, you don't make any noise. So now I'm scared because you don't make any noise. She's been so trained to always hear me do something that she was scared for one reason. Now she's like, well, now I got to make sure that you're actually really sleeping. And but yes, definitely focus more. I do take supplements for that as well. I take tyrosine, I'll take L-theanine for better rest.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not recommending it to anyone until you look into it. My doctor knows about all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Alpha GPC helps me out a lot. I drink mushroom coffee
Mm.
because I drink a lot of coffee throughout the years, and to a point it was just kind of just giving me anxiety and jitters versus just actually helping me with focusing. So I shifted into mushroom coffee. It's not a plug, but Everyday Dose is a great coffee. I
Mm.
drink that every day.
Yeah, we don't
So
have
I'm
we don't have sponsorships yet, people. So yeah, nothing is
That'd
endorsed.
be a good one. Yeah, that itself has lion's mane in it, and a whole
Mm.
bunch of other vitamins in it that help out. And so, yeah, I try to supplement myself to help it. But yes, the focus is a lot more. I'm more productive at work. Definitely. better at my meetings and my speeches. I mean, it's like night and day
Yeah, yeah,
compared to a year, even a year ago. I had already lost some
yeah.
weight and things have gotten better.
You mentioned something really important too that probably a lot of folks don't necessarily appreciate is the fact that when you weren't healthy, the stress and anxiety that it was causing your wife each night when you were asleep. So you weren't sleeping well because of the sleep apnea, but then she probably wasn't getting adequate sleep from what you described because she was worried
For sure,
about your sleep quality, you know. And so then it was
for
having a
sure.
negative effect on both of you because neither of you is sleeping well. And for those who don't know, like your body does a lot of its cleaning and repairing when we sleep. And so if we're not getting adequate sleep, we're short circuiting our body's ability to really flush out a lot of stuff, which can lead to water retention, and grogginess, and you can have other issues down the line that,
Swelling,
yeah, make you more prone to things like, cognitive decline and things like that, mood
high blood
issues.
pressure, just a lot of
Yeah,
things.
so many.
Just like sugar is a cause of a lot of ailments, so is bad sleep.
Yep.
And but no, you're right. Sometimes like we don't do it on purpose, but we don't consider sometimes our spouses and our significant others. They worry. It's like living with an alcoholic, right?
Mm,
To themselves, they think sometimes that they're only hurting themselves and they're only destroying themselves. But at the same time, you're hurting everybody else around you. You're
yeah.
causing stress. You're causing them anxiety. My wife was very anxious. My son was, he already has anxiety things that he goes on. He has his own things he deals with, and I was just adding to that.
Mm,
So yeah, a very serious note on that part is people don't think about it, but and I don't think it's sometimes because you're selfish. I think sometimes because you're trying not to be so self-aware, right? Because as much as you might be self-aware, at least of how big you might be,
mm,
you're almost less self-aware of the cause and effect of you being overweight, other than you just being unhealthy,
yeah.
right? That sickness spreads, and so I think just all of us, all three of us, and my family too, getting healthy. We're happier. We're less stressful. We're more focused, and I think that helps a lot. And like kind of like how you thank your wife for dealing with you all the time. My wife as well. She's an angel for that. For sticking with me through thick and thin. Knowing that hey, I can fall ill at any time. And say I'm going to stick by him, and hopefully he realizes that and gets better. And here we are. She's been with me through a lot, and I appreciate that. And my son as well. Everybody, my family too. So, and one thing I wanted to go back to about
Mm-hmm.
how sometimes folks and family, you get a lot of resistance sometimes.
Mm,
And I think it is an important subject, because some people will be motivated by what you do, but some people I think sometimes will get stressed by it,
mm-hmm.
right? Because they're like, well, why is he losing so much weight? And I've gotten the same things that you have. Like on one hand, I have one person come up to me and say, "I'm really proud of you, you're doing so good. We love what you're doing." And other people will be like, "Hey, don't lose so much weight, you're gonna get sick." It's just like I was already
You're like,
really
I'm super
sick.
sick, bro.
I'm 10 times healthier than I was 2 years ago. I'm like, I think I don't know, like I think I'm gonna listen to my doctor instead. But thank you. So, right. So yeah, it affects your family, but also affects other people. And I just hope that maybe one person, right, changes their life because of it. If it was one person, that would make me happy.
Yeah.
If I'm putting myself out there and people are like, you know what, Hector did it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've put yourself out there a lot with a lot of the exercising and all that. That's great. That's good stuff to see. Because I'm like, I need to do more weight training like he does. And it's good to see that, because people, it's scary. People judge people for posting stuff like, oh, they're in the gym, they're doing that, but at least they're at the gym. you
Right.
know like, oh, that big person is at the gym one day out of the week. At least he's at the gym one day out of the week.
Right.
I wasn't even there once a year, right? More or less once a week. And I see another person. I was at the 5K, a 5K that I just recently
Hmm.
ran,
I feel you.
slowed,
I can't. I can't
jog.
run a full 5K either. Yeah.
But I saw another guy who was as big as I was 2 years ago,
Mm,
but I was so proud of him. Like I
yeah.
didn't, I first thing I said, I'm like 2 years ago at that weight, I would have never done it, but he did it. He was at the way at the back, but he got up that morning and said, I'm going to go run this 5K.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to walk it, I'm going to jog it, but I'm going to get up and do it. And he had more courage than I did 2 years ago.
Mm.
So you got to be proud for those people, right? Because
Absolutely.
they're getting off their butt and doing something. Other people are just sitting there judging them, like, well, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, put yourself out there. Go outside for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be a run or a walk. It doesn't have to be that serious. It starts somewhere. And that guy, he gave me more motivation all night,
Mm-hmm.
because if he's doing that, you know, God knows how he's going to be in a couple of years, right?
Yep.
So very proud of people who do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely some key components in there. I mean, like for you, the catalyst being the look on your wife's face. Like you knew stuff that you needed to take care of, but your love for them was transformative for you.
For sure.
And I know for some people, there can be, I guess, a tug. They're like, well, you shouldn't be doing it for like the family member, because if the family member all of a sudden wasn't there anymore, you still need to take care of
Of
yourself.
course. Hmm.
And so there needs to be an element of me wanting to be better for my sake, if you will.
Hmm.
I think for me, like there's more of a shift taking place now. I didn't have this mindset back then, but there's, you get married, you have kids and stuff. And I was like, for me, like as I grow in my faith, there's an aspect of it where like I want to be a better steward of what I've been entrusted with. And this body and mind is part of that stewardship. And then the outflow of that is if I steward it well, then there's benefits for my wife, there's benefits for my kids, there's benefits for my parents and other people around me as well, because I'm healthier, not as sick, whatever. I'm capable to be there for them in ways that I wouldn't be if I was not taking care of myself,
Right.
in these various dimensions and stuff. So, for obviously, there's always ups and downs with a journey like this. How did you all navigate the setbacks, and what were some of those setbacks, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I think for both me and my wife, it's always been food, right? I mean, it's very clear, and I think that might be everyone's setback. And the people who say I'm going to lose 60 pounds end up gaining 30 pounds, right?
Mm.
Um, we've had setbacks, especially during the holidays, where it's just like we just want to eat what we want to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and at times we don't, and at times we do. There's been times where, it was a wedding, and we ate at the wedding, and then we said, well, we already have this food yesterday. Well, let's just finish it out the weekend, right? Have this go have. I don't eat breakfast. I just don't eat it anymore. But
Mm.
from time to time, I want to go have some pancakes, right?
Yep.
You're allowed to do that. And I go, that's a dangerous road for some people, but I know that I've gone this far, that I know that I can get myself out of it, right? And those have been some setbacks, and it can, they messes with your psyche sometimes.
Mm.
For both me and my wife, you can, you don't realize if you can get a little sad, a little depressed, when other people are having donuts and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, I'm gonna stop myself from eating because I'm just not gonna do it.
Mm.
And my wife says that I have a lot of willpower and that I have more willpower than her, but I don't think so. I think, I just, I don't, I internalize it a lot. I'm not saying I know that's healthy, because I mean, I've spoken to my therapist about it. But I just, when I hyper focus on things, and it can be an undiagnosed thing. My son, he's been diagnosed with a couple of things, and I think he gets that from me, but
Mm.
I don't want to self-diagnose, but I've always hyper focused on certain things. When I want to do something, I'll do it. And I've been avoiding this for certain reasons, but because I just didn't want to face the truth.
Yeah.
But the setbacks, yeah, it's always like I have such a big family. Her family's a lot smaller. I have cousins, and it's just big. We just had a family reunion. She actually couldn't go, but I was there, and it was the food. I ate whatever they had. I got sick. Like I was sick for 3 days. My body's like, what the heck are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you doing this? So that itself, I'm like, okay, my body's telling me that this isn't for me. Enjoy some of it. Don't eat, don't overdo it, because
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to react to it. And I did. I got sick. So the setbacks are either getting sick or feeling a little down about it. But we've managed to work through them. We talk about it. My wife, her thing is sweets. Mine is savory, right? So while she would rather have a piece of cake or a piece of pie, I'd rather go have, a ribeye steak and some
Mm-hmm.
mashed potatoes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's mine, right? So if we're both falling off at the same time, we're just gonna go back to the same route. So we have
Yeah.
to keep ourselves, honest and say, hey, you're gonna eat that donut, maybe eat it during your fasting period. And I'm like, hey, while you're eating those calories and you're eating that fat, if you stay within your fasting, it's not gonna hit you as hard, right?
Mm.
Same thing with her. She's like, you just had that serving. You're gonna have some more. I'm like, no, you're right. I'm not. I'm just eating to eat. I'm not that hungry. And try to keep each other honest without offending each other, right?
Yeah.
Because you can get to that point. You can get offended because what are you trying to say? Well, you know what you're trying to say. I'm just trying to be nice about it, and
Mm-hmm.
you got to try to keep each other honest, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. You got to try to navigate that because when you're married, you're a couple. You got to try to not one, get on each other's nerves because you got to live with each other,
Uh-huh.
and two, be understanding of each other because
Right.
I have my quirks, she has hers, she has things that will help her things that will cause her to fall off the wagon more than me on one things, and certain me as well, right?
Yep.
So that's been the biggest struggle is um the feeling you get after or during or not being able to do something, and then the physical pain, you know, of falling off the wagon, and knowing that, your body doesn't can't handle it anymore. You shouldn't be treating your body that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the struggles. It's funny because one is technically the outcome of something you shouldn't be doing, and that technically should be teaching you the lesson. But being a person who is addicted to food, just like a person might be addicted to alcohol, it's not good for you. It'll make you sick, but eventually you go back to it.
Yeah.
You try it again, and you're like, okay, maybe that's a wake up call. Maybe that's the spiral. Luckily for me, it's not the spiral. It's been more like, okay, it actually gives more motivation. Say, I'm not gonna eat that ever again, or at least not for another year. And there's things I haven't eaten in 1 to 2 years. I haven't tried in a long time. I used to go. We'd eat so much fast food now.
Mm.
Oh, I'm gonna have a burger from this place. I haven't had this place since 2004, right? 2014,
Mm-hmm.
or that might not sound like a lot, but when you eat it once a week, twice a week,
Yep.
it's a big deal, right?
Yep.
So your body doesn't react to it sometimes the same way. You don't feel as sick because it's like, well, your body's like, well, I haven't had this in a while. You digest it better. If you eat a lot of it, then your body's gonna be like, yeah, you're going to kind of overdoing it. So
Yep.
once you get used to a certain routine, your body gets used to a certain way. Your body will send you warnings.
Mm-hmm.
So the sickness that I would get from something's falling off is something that's tough, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not only physically tough, but it kind of it's like a fire in your butt, like saying, see what happens. Like, now, this is what you were doing to yourself every day. Like, do you want to go back to that?
Yeah.
And it's just like, never again.
Yep. Yeah, you hit on something important there. I think that's a core component of this type of transformation is the need for there to be a shift in that starts in the mind, but there has to be a shift in identity.
Right.
Absolutely. Because the catalyst can be something else, but
Right.
if the last is going to change, your identity has to change. You know,
Sure.
hence the title. Although I do have my little tagline, "The Odyssey continues," because there are aspects of my journey that, like, I still feel certain ways about myself. Like, I can still be really self conscious about taking
Oh,
the
yeah.
shirt off at the pool. Like, there's
Right.
still some fat kid in there as far as the
Right.
mindset goes, but um, the identity shift is just so crucial in maintaining, because you're like, I'm not this person anymore. I'm now this person. And how will this person make decisions and,
Right.
approach things? And it really helps with that. But yeah, it has to start there.
Yep. You have to seek advice, whether it's spiritual advice, whether it's, um, you know, advice from your doctor or from a psychiatrist or anyone. It's good to get advice, to get someone, to help you from the outside in, to give you another perspective. And I know you said you're a spiritual person, and I know that's very motivating to a lot of people. For me, I talked to my therapist. I never ever in a million years thought I would talk to a therapist. I just thought,
Yeah.
I don't need that. It's nothing I need in my life. What am I going to tell him my problems? He has his own problems. He probably has more problems than me. All the
Uh-huh.
excuses. And sometimes it's just not even that. They're not there to judge you. They're just there to listen to you.
Right.
And they might give you some insight of how to help you navigate through certain things. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to retrain yourself. Yeah, your mindset does have to change.
Yep.
Like you said, like I have those kind of phantom. I know there's a thing called phantom limb, but I got the phantom weight thing, right?
Yeah.
Where, yeah, I'm still 240 pounds. I'm still big, But I've come a long way from 494 pounds. I went from a size 6, 7XL to a 2XL t-shirt. My
Mm-hmm.
pant size was 56. Now I'm a 38,
Mm-hmm.
right? Big change, big thing. And some people are like, "Oh, you look great in that." And in my mind, sometimes I'll see myself in the mirror and I still see that big guy, right? And not until people actually those pictures that I've compared that I've showed online, people have sent me those. I usually don't pull them off from my archives.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
last one from the theater thing, my sister sent that to me and she said, "Look at yourself, look at yourself now." And I
Mm.
was like, "Wow, like that's a lot." And I'm like, but then it's a reality check, like saying like,
Mm-hmm.
"No, you're doing great." Like, you feel better about yourself, give yourself some credit, you know? And I'm like, I'm going to, express my journey, how I'm doing, how much I've lost. And it's a little, sometimes it's TMI for some folks. They don't want to hear it. Yeah, just scroll away. Don't read it. If it's not for you,
Exactly.
it's not for you. But some people, it might motivate them. And if it does, that's great.
Yeah.
But you have to retrain yourself, because if you stay in the same mind, if I was staying in the same mindset I had 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been in the same situation well, I'm in the situation that I'm now, or I would have been in the same situation, could have been, or I could have been worse. I mean, I was getting sick, you know, God forbid anything would have happened to me or anyone, but you never know. Like that was a big warning that, I was heading to a dark place and I need to
Mm-hmm.
get out of there,
Mm-hmm.
and dig myself out. And, luckily I had people to help me. But a lot of times, yeah, you have to do it for yourself. And you mentioned earlier, like some people might have a problem by saying, well, the catalyst was my family, but some people need to also understand that, but my family is my life. My son and his mother and everyone, they're my family, they're my life, they're who I live for, right? So that's my motivation. That's always been my motivation to do anything, right? I've always, back when I was a kid, I was self-deprecating. I
Mm.
didn't think I can do anything with my life. But because I had something to live for, something to strive for, I made goals for myself, and then it satisfied me. It satisfied me internally.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't, like you said, it doesn't always start with you. It starts with something else that turns into something that helps you and your family and your livelihood. And it does. I'm a lot happier. I feel better. Of course, I'm healthier, and it has helped me. And now I know that I wasn't just doing it for them. I was doing it for myself. But if that's the catalyst for some people, then so be it. Let it be the
Yep.
catalyst. The important thing, as you're living a better life, you're healthier and you're moving forward. If it's taking you backtracking, then it's time to look for something else, right? Try to find a motivation elsewhere. Try to get some help somehow, because your life depends on it. It's just like I said, like, you got to keep going. Your life depends on it. Your life
Yep.
does depend on it, especially when you get to a certain age. I'm in my 40s. It's almost like as soon as I hit 40, I started, like, everything just started going downhill. It's almost like, kind of like when sometimes it's like September or something, all suddenly fall kicks in and suddenly it snows,
Uh-huh.
and then it's hot again like a week later.
Yep.
That's kind of how it was. I hit 40 and it's just everything just started happening, boom, 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 all at once. I was like, what
Yep.
the heck? It's like the doctor knew exactly when this was going to go off. Like the time bomb just went off,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, those 10 years from 40 to 50, you don't do anything about it, you're really setting yourself up for a really bad time. And that's what my doctor told me, at least. Again, I'm not giving anyone any advice, but, I just wish people to take care of themselves and look at themselves and see if they can, find some type of motivation to to help themselves, because,
Yeah.
I know it's very hard for some people. And, applaud people who really, really try, even if they don't have that support.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot, because I see people, they're out there working out by themselves, that do it by themselves, and they still do it. And that takes a lot, because maybe for me, I really needed my family to be there for me. Maybe that was the kind of person that I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to help myself because of them. So I'm grateful.
Yep. And it had a transformative effect on the rest of your family as well. So,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
yeah. And so for anybody, I mean, whether or not you watch this when it premieres or you watch it later, if this is like, if you're on your own health journey and you're wondering, can I make a change? Can I, like, we have both in our different ways and different seasons have done it. Hector doing it in his
Right.
40s. I'm still in my own journey. I did it when I was younger, but then there's also the aspect of like keeping it off, because I'm sure you're familiar with, we can lose it. And
That's
usually, if
hard.
you lose a ton of it, it's hard to keep it off. Usually, people
It
rebound
is.
and gain it mostly back or all back, or
Mm-hmm.
they gain it back with interest. And
Right. It's
yeah,
happened to me.
and so yeah, the importance of like having that, taking the first step, but then also finding the motivation, man, I don't even know if I want to say motivation. Like there are aspects that can be motivating, but the
Right.
there, if we wait like a professional, if you wait for motivation to actually take care of the task at hand, sometimes you'll never get the work done. And so there needs to be a
Right.
shift in you that takes place that says, no matter if I
Right.
have the motivation, I'm going to do this. Like
Yeah. You
something
gotta
that,
you gotta you gotta meet it halfway.
yeah,
Um,
like
it's like
something.
it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say it is like it's like any diet, anything you do in life, but it's a project. You gotta at least meet it halfway
Mm-hmm.
to get where you want to get, and that's it was just not gonna come to you. It's like anything, like buying a house, like looking for a job, like anything in life that has a goal in mind and it takes some work. Then yeah, there's a you got to meet it, right? You got
Mm-hmm.
to go for it. You got to, you know, whether you're believing God or not, or someone, you have that, you have the free will, and to be able to do what you want and try to do what you want, you got to find some reasons to get yourself halfway there. And I think just getting halfway there, or at least getting your foot in, is a starter. Some people, are new to that. Then they didn't even get their foot forward, and when they get 1, 2 feet forward, sometimes it eventually becomes 10 feet forward. Time passes. Time comes for all of us. It's something we all got in common. And at first it felt like it took forever or it's slowing down, but you look after a year or two, you look back and you're like, wow, there's been a change.
Yeah.
And trying to put yourself there, like you said, you can't always wait around for it to come to you. You gotta
Mm-mm.
you gotta take it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't wait. And if you want to talk to somebody like Hector, you reach out to Hector, you can reach out to me. Like if you're just
Right.
like, hey, I'm wondering if I want to start the journey, I want to learn more about your story, and I'm really struggling about what step to take. Absolutely, man. Reach out. Or if you have somebody, in your faith community or your doctor, if you don't go on a regular basis, go. We can all be pretty stubborn. Maybe we've had some bad experiences, but look for a good doctor and definitely go.
Right.
And
Right. Not
go with
everyone
some
has
that.
luck with doctors. I've
Right.
I've had my share, but at the same time my mentality was different, so maybe there were great doctors and I just didn't see them as great doctors at the time.
Right.
But my doctor, he's amazing. And hopefully people can find somebody like that, and I can always shoot them information to you. You want to know who my doctor is, I'll tell you, and you can go look for him. He used to be around my neighborhood, and he went far north, to Northwestern, out in near
Mm.
Northfield or Glenview. I
Mm.
followed him all the way over there. I said, we're gonna stay friends, and you're gonna stay my doctor. I'm gonna follow you wherever you go.
Nice.
And when my doctor appointments are, my office surprisingly isn't far from there. I'll set it up around the same time. I'll go to the office, see my doctor, then head home and don't see him for another 2, 3 months. But
Nice.
you find somebody, stick with them. Someone you like, stick with them. But
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to share your story and
no,
dig
for
into
sure,
some of that. And hopefully, it's encouraging to someone. And like I said before, like they'll, if you have any questions, you can reach out to either of us. Or
for sure.
and yeah, if you want to continue to follow our journeys as well, we're both still posting stuff, and
Right? Yeah. We should probably do, like, I'm not saying you should, but it would be a good idea. Maybe in 6 months from now, 12 months from now, we'll do another one, see where we're at. Right?
absolutely,
I'm
man.
still working on my journey. I know you're still working on yours.
Yep.
So I'm not. This story is not over. Like
Mm-mm.
I say, I'm about 2/3 away from my goal. So I'm excited to see where I'll be at next year.
Awesome.
So yeah, anytime you want to have mine here, we want to chat. Let me know. Life change, journeys change, and yeah, anyone who's out there who needs some advice or just have questions for me, some things you might have heard that I didn't get too deep into, I don't mind sharing it. Reach out. Like, I've had people reach out to me a few times, mostly friends and family, but other folks that don't know who I am, it doesn't matter. Reach out to me. My social media will be shared by Brian here, and don't hesitate.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, until next time, yeah, we'll stay in
All
touch
right.
and
Thanks for having me,
appreciate it,
Brian.
bro. All right.
All right, no problem. Take care of yourself.
You too.
All right.